Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host Chris Dices, and we are here to do the Stardew Valley review, which is going to be very interesting because and is seen as the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So I was a big fan of that, and I've been disappointed in some of the other games that the Harvest Moon series has produced. So, is this the one? Is this the spiritual successor? Let's find out. Coming into Stardew Valley, I was very interested to see how this game would be like. I'd heard a lot of things about it being on other consoles, on Steam, on PC, and when I heard it was coming to the Switch, I thought this would be the perfect time to get it on a Nintendo console and see what it's like. My general impressions at first that I felt like the graphics were really good. Looking at it, there's some really beautiful imagery in the game. I do feel like it doesn't quite make the mark compared to the original Harvest Moon game on the Super Nintendo. In terms of, there's a bit more of a cutesiness or a bit more of I don't think it's sort of I don't think you go away thinking that the graphics and the models and that are as cute or as have a lasting impression on you. They're quite nice and they're very pretty, but there's something not quite there. At first, I wasn't too sure about the music in the background when you're doing the farming and things like that and you're going around. But I actually enjoyed the music as it went onwards in the different seasons and that after spring. I felt like it got a bit more upbeat and things like that. And that's another classic thing with the Harvest Moon music. The Harvest Moon music gets repetitive after a while. And I think it's nice with Stardew Valley. They kind of mix up the music during the day. One of the impressive things, and it is hard to sort of keep comparing to Harvest Moon, but essentially that's what it kind of is in a lot of ways. Is it's like, what would Harvest Moon be like if it was made in 2017 with similar graphics, similar sort of vibe to it? And I felt that the town was very big and interesting. There's a wealth of characters. There's like over 30 characters, and it really does feel like you're in a town, talking to people, interacting with them. And I've only seen some cutscenes, but they're actually quite tender, especially the homeless guy who lives in the cave. And I felt quite touched by that. So they're also dealing with different issues and things like that, and talking to them during the day and that, which is which is really, really interesting. The music definitely fits the game well, so that's a big tick there. The storyline is very strong. It has events like Harvest Moon, which is really cool, which I enjoyed too. The crafting is very interesting, and obviously there's so much more that you can do. You can do greenhouses, you can do cows and ducks and things like that. So there was a lot of additional things that they've added over time, and I liked cutting up all the wood and the trees and things like that. The farm space is nice and big and spacious. You can do a lot with it. It is a bit of a grind at the beginning to try to make money, but that's essentially, I think, the same with a lot of simulation games and that, especially farming ones. You got to really literally roll up your sleeves and get to work pretty hard on that. So I think that was important to do that sort of thing. So I was pretty happy about that sort of stuff. Now, excuse me. I enjoyed the town, which was very appealing, and I enjoyed doing the crafting and doing the chickens and things like that. And just the small little things that I like in games like this, where you open up the little hatch and the chickens come out and they look really cute and they play in the grass. And some people say that looking after livestock doesn't give you as much money as the crops, and I probably agree with that. Except for winter can be a bit tough. But I just like the cuteness of the little chickens running around, and it just feels like a real farm when you've got animals on it. Also, with the big town, you've got your shops. There's a little bar at night time. You've got your grocery store. You've got the doctors. You've got like health points and energy points. So there's this big mine. The big mines that you go into. You've got to sort of cut that. You've got to go into the mines and go down each level. And basically that's where you can get your iron and your copper and your gold and your silver and things like that. And then you sort of turn them into bars, and then you unlock things and things like that. And I like going through the mines because it kind of changes from a farming game to sort of a role-play game in a way. The way that they did that sort of stuff. So I was quite impressed by that. I think the success to all good sort of simulation type games like Harvest Moon or Animal Crossing and The Sims and things like that is, it does have that addictive game nature where I was, playing it day after day in the game, and I didn't really want to stop playing. And I think that's a really good hallmark of an excellent game. So that was something that I was really impressed by, looking at all that different info and things like that. I can't see any really big downsides to it. I think it's a really good game overall. You're going to have fun farming. You're going to have fun exploring the town. I would say do the farming first in the game, but do take your time to explore the town and meet the people in that. Because, in the beginning of the game, where in the cutscenes, where you're working your 9 to 5 job at this sort of office job, and your grandpa says, open the letter. You get given a letter. And says, open the letter when, you've had enough of the daily grind. And he opens it up, and there's the deed to the farm. And that's how he goes along. And he works at this sort of JoJo company, which is kind of like a mega sort of corporation supermarket thing. And they're trying to take over Stardew Valley. So you have the option of helping them out by getting a membership or by helping to build up the community center. So that's an interesting sort of challenges for them, and sort of gives you options on how you like to build upon the sort of world. And so that's up to you what you like to do. But I really enjoy the characters. The farming's fun. There's just a lot of great appeal in this game. And I was very, very happy about it. I was very, very impressed. I will continue to put more hours into this game after this review. And yeah, I'm very, very impressed. So we shall head back and see what my final score is at the Nintendo Ninja News desk. So, Stardew Valley. What do I think of it overall? I think it's a really impressive game, and I do feel like it is the spiritual successor to Harvest Moon. The Harvest Moon series has suffered over the years of not very good quality games, poor graphics, not really a well thought out thing. And I think the series went even worse when it went to sort of 3D games and that. There's still some good Harvest Moon sequels, but I think generally it never really lived up to the original. And obviously Stardew Valley is pretty much that sort of game. So I think overall I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I was going to give it a 9.5, but maybe there's a few things that they can add and things like that. One of the problems was the saving, the loading is quite slow. And that takes 15, probably sometimes 20 seconds plus, which is something that hopefully they can work on. But I was close to giving that 9.5, but I think 9 out of 10 is an excellent score. It's not a perfect game. I think there's a few little creaks here and there, but overall I was really impressed by the game. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun, and it's a must-buy game. Here in Australia, it's $17, which is cheaper than some other games. And to be honest, this feels more like a $30 or $40 game, based on all the content that you can do and the amount of hours that you can plow into it. So it's definitely a big recommendation by me Stardew Valley. So Chuckfish did a good job of putting it over to the Switch, and hopefully it will continue to get more updates over time. So that's it for me, and I'll see you next time.